Hello, Big Blue Nation. Guess what? The long losing streak to SEC West teams on the road and to Mississippi State here at Davis-Wade Stadium is gone. Kentucky handles business tonight in Starkville, 24-3. Adam Luckett here with Stephen Peak, late here in Starkville. Stephen, I think the story of the game, it's really Kentucky kind of handled their business with relative ease, but looming over all of this is the status of Devin Leary moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we got a chance to hear from Coach Stoops and Liam Coen. Liam gave a little bit more details than Mark did. Coach Stoops said something was in his eye, and then Liam came out and he said that vision was blurry, and he said that it actually cost him a few plays. There was a couple play calls that they called on the sideline. He couldn't see the signs. His vision was blurry, and they called the wrong play. And Liam seemed, how Liam is in some of these pressers. He seems exhausted. He seems like he's been out here all day too. So,
right.
But he seemed like really like, he was saying, I hope Devin's okay. It seemed like he seemed very concerned.
Yeah, the first thing for me that popped in my head when he went into the tent a second time is, does he have a concussion? Blurry vision, is that a concussion-related symptom? I'm not a doctor, but you have to think maybe it is. And so if he has to go through whatever their protocol is, just what does that look like for next week with Alabama coming into town? But we can worry about all of that later. Right now, it's really time to focus on what happened in the game. And Stephen, the last few weeks, it's been rough go for Kentucky's defense, but they really dominated this game, held Mississippi State to just over 3 yards per play. Mike Wright, who single-handedly beat them, you could argue, when Vandy came into Kroger Field last year, they totally took him out of the game. They had to pull him in the second half. Really couldn't get anything going. I think it was just overall just a really good performance by the Kentucky defense, and they had the play of the game, Derek Jackson's pick six. It really kind of ended the game when Kentucky went up 14-3.
That flipped it. I mean, you could kind of feel the momentum in the stadium just completely taken out after that pick six, because you just had, it's crazy. You went from like a 19-play drive to a 1-play drive.
Yep.
I mean, you talked about it, but Brad White also mentioned it. He said that there's something about that 19-play drive when you go from the 5-yard line all the way down. I don't know where they got it down to, inside the 10.
They were at third and 8 at the Kentucky 9.
Yeah, and then you hold them to only 3 points. That's kind of like what that does to the stadium, what that does to the players on the Mississippi State sideline.
Well, you just have to think what Mississippi State is as a football team right now. They are limited offensively. To win games, they're going to have to maximize their scoring opportunities. So they get this big drive down 7-0. The crowd's back into the game. Mm-hmm. It feels like if you score right there, you're going to go in the halftime. It's a close game, and then anything can happen at that point if you get in the second half. You hold them to field goal there, and it's kind of demoralizing. It takes the wins right out of their sails. Defense comes out and gets a stop in 4 plays, so they're in a really good shape still. And then Mike Wright, against zone coverage, locks on the receiver, never really sees the Derek Jackson pick. House call right there was where Derek Jackson scored, and the game was really, I thought, over at that point. Once Kentucky got up by 2 possessions, it was going to be very hard for Mississippi State with their offense. As long as Kentucky didn't turn the ball over, it's going to be very hard for them to come back, and I think that's what happened. And then in the second half, I think the offense got a little sloppy, but I do think game script took over there. They weren't going to.
I was going to ask you, because it felt like the second half was just like, the first half was pretty good. I thought the offense looked all right, and then you got to the second half, and I was like, when is this game going to be over with?
They weren't going to lose. It was unfortunate that Kentucky didn't score down here. They had on their second possession, and then the Leary injury or whatever happened there obviously kind of junked up the last 2 to 3 series of the game for Kentucky's offense. But throughout defensively, they just didn't have much of a. Mississippi State just doesn't have the answers right now on offense, and Kentucky did what they should have done against an offense like that. Totally took them out of the game. Didn't allow a touchdown. Stephen, the first SEC game where they didn't allow a touchdown since 2020.
And that was against, right.
And then Corey Price with the stat. First time since 1979 where Kentucky was on the road in an SEC game that allowed 3 points or less in a game.
I love a good Corey Price stat.
So it was just good to see the defense be the Kentucky defense again. We all know Mississippi State's got offensive issues, but it was just good to see them do that again. And really, the whole kind of story of the night to me was Mississippi State fans are down on the team right now, down on the program in a big way. You
should have heard them as I was walking through here in the late quarters, the ones that stuck around at least.
Walking around here in Starkville through the junction, there was a lot of, the vibes aren't great right now around this program. There's not a lot of belief in Zach Arnett and what he's doing, and then you add the injuries to their best 2 players on offense, Will Rogers and Woody Marks. It makes things worse. So as soon as something bad happened, a lot of them checked out, and they hit the gates early. Some at halftime. The student section was rocking before the game, and come back from halftime, it was barren. Up there in the deck was barren, and then in the fourth quarter, there was hardly anybody here.
But still so much noise. I couldn't believe how loud it is in here, even with, I mean, I looked around, I was like, is there like 20% of this stadium is occupied, and it's still so loud. If you close your eyes, you think, oh, I'm in a full stadium. But I thought also that, and maybe you can help me out with this a little bit too. What is going on with Kentucky's running game? I mean, is it Mississippi State, I guess, is pretty good defense, pretty good at stopping the run, I guess? Yeah.
I think you heard Liam Coen pre-week was kind of worried about that, how they come so hard and they crash and they do so much pre and post snap movement that it can be hard to know what to block. So you kind of have to block an area, and they're going to win some and they're going to lose some. And when they lose some, you hope you gash them. And Kentucky struggled to run the football tonight. Now, I will say, in the biggest drive of the game, they ran it well. The 4-minute offense drive down the half, they went Ray Davis run, and then hit the Berrien Brown, I believe it was a jet sweep for 20 yards to set up the 1st and goal. That's right. So when in the biggest series of the game, they ran it, which is a good sign. You would like to see them have more success at the end, especially when they got the ball on the Mississippi State side of the 50. You'd like to see them just run it down there get a couple first downs, at least get in the position where you could kick a field goal. So the run game has been a little bit of an issue the last couple of weeks. You want to see them kind of figure that out. But we're kind of seeing more of what we thought the Kentucky team would be, maybe kind of struggle to run the ball, pass game leads away, and that happened tonight for the most part. I still don't know why this didn't get reviewed for David Denke in the end zone. That was one of the more head-scratching moments.
That would be one of the best catches of the season. I mean, that would be one of Dane's best catches maybe since the Florida catch back last year. But one more thing about the offense and Liam Coen again. When he does, I love listening to his post games. I always feel like I'm learning when he talks. Same with Brad White too. But Liam, he seems so solemn, like even after wins, And I think Stoops told him, what he said was that Stoops told him on the headset, it's like, man, you got to smile. Like we're winning an SEC road game right now. We haven't won here since 2008, and Stoops has never won an SEC West game. This was his last chance to do it, and got that off his back. And he's like, you need to smile a little bit. Liam said that he said you're lucky if like 5 to 10 times a game the play that you call is executed the way you want it to.
Right. Yeah.
And you could tell he's getting frustrated. He said, I was getting kind of pissed off. Like, why aren't we I guess putting more points up on the board? Why aren't we executing the way we know we can? And I don't know when that was relayed to him about Devin Leary, at what point in the game that became an issue. I don't know if you heard at what point in the game that the vision got blurry and it showed. I mean, the second half kind of dragged on a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very much a Mark Stoops, let's get the lead and sit on them kind of game. We've seen that play out before, and it played out a lot here. But I think big picture, Stephen, 6-3, 3-3, you extend the bowl streak. You probably helped end what Mississippi State's got a long bowl streak that's probably going to end this year now that they lost this game. And you've got a chance to, Bama's going to be tough next week, coming into your house, senior day. They just beat LSU. They're all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this team might win the title again. National title.
Nick Saban's down. Georgia's down. They're beatable. Georgia and Alabama are beatable. Yeah, okay. So, Alabama they're undefeated in the SEC also?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
We all know the challenge that's going to be, but it sets up, I think, more so too, and you get the chance to take a swing at the King, but it sets up more so these last two games are really going to matter here. You go to South Carolina. South Carolina looks vulnerable. You go to Louisville, and they're having this great season. And those two huge toss-up games that I think could go either way, that you have a chance to really end the season strong, but you had to get this game right here. Yeah. You had to get it, and you got it in blowout fashion. I mean, if you ask anyone, we all would have signed up for a 21-point win. Maybe
I would sign up for a 1-point win.
Maybe look ugly and sloppy, but I think it was important that Kentucky played team football. I think the offense, defense, and special teams all contributed, and then you got really a kind of a stress-free win here. Which is something that hasn't that even in some of the non-conference games, it was kind of like, was it so clunky? It still was clunky, but they got out of there with relative ease, and now you can move on. And again, you host Alabama this week, take a swing at the King, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, there was a point in the game where I was like, you could take a knee. Kentucky could have taken a knee from like the start of the second half on. Mississippi State was not scoring on Kentucky's defense. But here's the thing I was thinking about is like Kentucky it's possible they can go 3-1 on the road in the SEC. Go 1-3 at home.
Yep, that's certainly on the table. They will be probably a betting favorite when they go to South Carolina in a couple weeks. But right now, It's time to get focused on Alabama. Cats are hosting the Crimson Tide for Senior Day. Stay tuned to KSR all week. We'll help you get ready for the game. From Starkville, see ya.
Go Cats.